I'm thrilled. We do have an activity that we'll do in just a moment. I thought that probably the best thing to do before that activity is just to become a little bit more familiar with each other. So yes, I am an executive fitness coach. We have at XFit a number of coaches that work with individuals, but we work with executive teams and companies with the idea that the more that people are investing into their people's fitness, the better they show up at work. And we can talk more about that in a little bit. So the aim of this part of today is going to be very engaging. And so again, in an effort to get to know each other, let me just share a couple things about me. So I grew up here in Utah. I still live in Utah. By show of hands, how many of you live in Utah? Okay, put your hands up if you grew up in Utah. Okay, interesting. Different hands went up on that. Where else are you coming from? Where do you people live? Are you on the East Coast? Just spout out where you live. Boston, Atlanta. Okay, Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, cool, fantastic. So I grew up here in Utah. There are a lot of stigmas around being a Utahn. The fact that I came up here with an introduction of having 6 kids is absolutely one of those stigmas. So yes, I am that 6-kid family, and it is chaos at our house. It is a reason I have to keep a physique like that to keep up with my kids. So what is fitness success? I like to say that your fitness success is never owned. It's rented. And the rent is due every day. Now that said, we've all seen different levels of success with fitness. And fitness is not just the physical activity of what we can do with our bodies. Certainly fitness is a lot too of what's happening internally. I like to think that the things we do, the things that we put inside of our bodies manifest externally. And so we start with meals like today, and those perpetuate the things we want to do with our bodies. Would you agree with that? So that said, fitness for me is not always it's not always been about having a certain look to my physique. Growing up, actually, I started exercise as a way to protect myself. In fact, I grew up, and many do, having a stepfather that was very abusive. And for me, my fitness was about standing up for myself, taking care of my younger brother and I, because I was heavily abused, and I didn't want to take it anymore. In fact, one thing that's kind of interesting, in my mind growing up, the only thing I wanted to be able to do was I wanted to hurt my stepfather. I wanted to be big and stand up to my stepfather and let him know he wasn't going to push me around anymore. Funny thing is, as I did end up getting older and bigger, all of that feeling, all of those negative thoughts and energy completely went away. I had no desire to be angry at him. In fact, I began to be more understanding. I learned that he had a lot he was dealing with. And isn't that interesting how as we evolve in life, we get to where, here I'm 40 years old. I didn't realize he was 36. And as a stepfather, he came into a family where my mom already had 3 kids. And I was about 6 years old when he came into that family. That would be really challenging as a 36-year-old man. But to compound that, he had mental illness that he was fighting. He came into the marriage, unbeknownst to my mother, with drug addictions, and he was a closet alcoholic. A lot of things that compounded and ultimately came out to me. Well, I share that because, again, I think there's always an evolution that can be really instructive when we consider fitness. And so as my fitness evolved, I got into natural bodybuilding. To date, I do things like, have any of you done a Spartan race before? Okay, I did one about 2 weeks ago in Utah. These kind of things are part of my life because of the way it makes me feel. It kind of holds me to a different expectation in life. Well, what are some of the things that you all have done for fitness in your life? So anybody here get into sports growing up, or dance or running? Raise of hands. Okay, and what were some of the sports on this side, or dance or activities that you got into fitness-wise? Just say them. Basketball, skiing, soccer, okay. Okay, in this center area? Football, cheerleading, gymnastics, okay, cool. Okay, over here? Baseball, tennis, basketball. Great, great. And without saying anything, I would like you to think about just how much you enjoyed those things in your life. What type of joy that brought you. And then I want you to think about whether or not you're doing those things today, or maybe you're mentoring someone that also has those interests. I think it's important to know, if we want to know where we're going, we need to know where we've been and where we're at. So the first activity I'd like us to all do is, in just a moment, we are all going to file out of this building. And if you saw to my right, there's a nature a nature walkway. You're going to follow me out of this building, and we're going to go out and attempt to go out and be as present as we possibly can. And I'll explain a little bit more about the impact of this activity moments after we do this. But what I'd like us to do, is there a pen for this? Oh, there's a few. Is identify what are the different senses of the body. Okay, we have sight, sound, smell, touch. I'm going to run out of room. That's okay. Taste, and I think we've got one more. What are we missing? Pardon? Okay, sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. We'll just go with that. I can't remember the last one. So what we're going to do in this activity is we are all going to go out, and as we do so, I'm going to encourage you to limit, and in fact, eliminate, if possible, any talking whatsoever. And when we come back, what we're going to identify are the sights, the sounds, the smells, the perhaps touches and tastes. Because I believe all of these elements incorporated into our daily lives can actually help us to be more present as business owners, more present in our families, more present and efficient in the day-to-day things that we want to do. So what we'll do is I'm going to file out this door, grab water if you'd like to, maybe grab a cookie. I'm going to grab the cookie I didn't finish, and I'm going to grab water. And I'll explain that order too, because there's a method to some of the madness. But I'm going to grab those things, and we're going to start filing out down the stairs. And again, the idea is we're going through sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. I encourage you to take pictures of things that you see. Be very present to your environment, and then we'll come back and we'll unpack the experience. Well, we're going to unpack this experience and talk about how something as simple as, how long do you think that walkabout took in total? 15, maybe 20 minutes? Okay, anybody have their heart rate elevated just a little bit? Any of you find yourself coming back and you're like, hey, I just feel good. Like, let's get into the next part of the day. Raise your hands. Okay? Absolutely remarkable. Sometimes we come to these events and we feel a little gluttonous and almost okay to be a little gluttonous. I'll admit, I went over to the snack bar and I saw, hey, like a trail mix and a protein bar that immediately I'm like, I'm going to put these in my car and save these for later. I get excited to come to these events. And so the act of movement, there are some physiological benefits that are absolutely transcendent. Have any of you heard of GLUT4? Hey, our body pushes insulin out to help move molecules, food molecules, where they need to go after we've eaten a big meal. With a glucose spike, as food moves into this postprandial or digestive state, we then have insulin directly corresponding with the amount of food to move things around. But in a simple act of movement for actually 2 minutes, really, we can do 2 minutes of activity. We have what's called GLUT4. So when we're gluttonous, a little bit more gluttonous, we can think of GLUT4, which is a process that happens in our bodies to move, to effectively reduce blood sugar. That's the most simplest way. So for those of you that typically will crash after a big meal, are we crashing right now? We just feel good. And so this kind of a practice, something where we're getting out and we're moving throughout the day, has compounding benefits. Well, let's just talk about some of these 5 senses. I said 6, but of course that's because of the movie, The Sixth Sense. We only have 5. Okay. I only have 5. Okay, so sight. So in this experience, talk about some of the sights. Hands over here. Some of the things that you saw, maybe took pictures of. Quotes that maybe you took pictures of as you were out looking around. Okay, what were some of the sights that you saw on your walkabout? Mountains, birds, ducks swimming. You saw what?
Beaver Dam. Like a little beaver lodge.
Yeah, a beaver dam. How often do you get to see that?
Sun calendar.
Okay, sun calendar. Okay, anything else on this in this middle section? Cool. That's really detail-oriented. Okay? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So hard, so challenging to see anybody not smiling and enjoying the experience. Okay? Anything else sight-wise? Slopes, yep. Dragonflies, absolutely. Houses up on the hill, okay? How about sounds? Water, Wind, yep. Ambulance. Okay. Smells. The things that you touched. The taste. All of these things encapsulated. I took a picture of a quote in the lobby area that said, "Those who dwell among the beauties and mysteries of the earth are never alone or weary of life." And I find that to be instructive. Well, last thing I want to leave you with, many of us went to business school. In my MBA, we did a lot of SWOT analyses where we identify strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. So as you went through that simple exercise, and by the way, we had like 100% of all of you exercising. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. 20 minutes of exercise right now. Absolutely amazing. So think about nutritionally or with exercise, some of your strengths. Okay, maybe write some of those down. maybe some weaknesses, opportunities for improvement, threats from doing this. Sometimes we get so busy, so focused on getting this next project done that we don't invest in ourselves. And yet the curiosity is that the more we invest in ourselves, the more we're able to invest in others. Isn't that true? And so what I would advise is that this same thing that you're doing individually could be done at a corporate level. Consider how much more productive people are when they're doing the things that they want to do, and that they're doing it feeling the way that you all feel now. There's a quote that says, "I love it on the mountaintop, but it's in the valley where I grow." There's a lot of growth happening today. But remember, our fitness success is never owned, it is rented, and the rent is due every day. Thank you very much.